Are we back? We back. Okay. Don't worry, I didn't progress it. I didn't progress it because I didn't want you guys to fall behind. Is everyone here? Is everyone back now? I'm gonna continue now. But yes, he is a Dominion, like I called it.
The successor to the 8th Dominion, Gaius Warzel.
Who was 8? I don't think I met the 8th Dominion. But why? Is that why you couldn't get a hold of you for the past 6 months?
A lot happened all at once. After graduating from Thors, I returned to Nord and began observing the struggle between Erebonia and Calvard. However, I began to feel something dark and sinister carried on the winds of the plateaus. I consulted my father and the chief, and eventually my old teacher, Father Barkhorn, came to visit. You might remember the name. He was the traveling priest we chased after during the Civil War. But it turns out, he was also the 8th Dominion of the Grolsritter, with the title the Roaring Lion.
Oh!
He was an extremely skilled knight who investigated the Salt Pale in Northumbria and trained Brigadier General Bardius. Apparently, he was worried and came to Nord to check up on me. He explained to me that what I had been sensing was called the Gale of Ruin. I'm not sure why I'm able to sense it. Maybe it's because I'm a descendant of those who fought alongside the Lionheart Emperor. I mentioned this to him and he came to a realization, but then it happened. A Calvardian ship that broke past the 7th Armored Division attacked my village. My father was away at the time. I fought back in an attempt to protect my family, but it was no use. Right as I prepared myself for death, my teacher threw his huge body in the way to protect me. And as he lay there dying, he passed his stigma onto me. Across the nearly 1,000-year history of the Grolsritter, its highest-ranking members have each borne one of 12 sacred markings. This was one of those markings.
The Roaring Lion. I've heard that name many times. He saved many people that were affected by the disaster in Northumbria. Yeah, among the current Dominion members, he was the most veteran. And after the stigma was passed to Gaius, I took him in the holy city of Arteria, where he received knight training, hence his half-year of silence. If that's what's happening, you should have told us. Yeah, we could have helped out. It's okay. Everything happened so quickly. I did everything I had to and finished my knight training. Last month, Eustace was finally able to reach me. The power that I received from my master. With it, I will save the Empire, my second home as a member of Class 7. Ah, Gaius. Sheesh. He's always been so grand and reliable. Thank you, guys. Please lend us your strength. Yes, I will give you my all. Something like him puts us under even more pressure. Yeah, the Cap just isn't in the age or experience. The group certainly has become awfully formidable. Not really. We're still training just as much as you guys. I have a ways to go before I reach the heights of my predecessors. And speaking of which...
Grandmother! Stop hiding! Come out already!
Of course she's here.
You're the one who called us here in the first place, aren't you?
I only hid myself so as not to interrupt your discussion.
Ah, you're Emma's grandmother. The elder of the witches, Roselia, was it?
Indeed. But you may simply call me Rose. I had you all gather here for one reason. To explain to you the background between the Hexen clan and the church.
I see, so that's how it is. But aren't the witches opposed to the church?
It's not as though we don't believe in Adios. There have been some differences in opinion over the years, but we and the church have worked together on a number of occasions.
For example, during the War of the Lions, or the vampire incident in the Middle Ages. Not to mention the fight against the Dark Dragon 800 years ago.
But all that was just Rose sticking her nose into other people's business.
Huh? Wait, so you were involved in all that?
Legend has it, Emperor Dreikel's camp was once visited by a good witch. And the novel Red Moon Rose features a vampire hunter affiliated with the church who was, in truth, the true ancestor of the vampires. The woman you now see before you was both of these people, even if she looks a bit different.
She bared her fangs. How old are you exactly?
800 or so.
Oh my gosh.
However, you should know that my situation is somewhat unique. All other witches are normal humans. Except, of course, for the fact that they are all descendants of those who once guarded the Septarian of Fire.
Septarian of Fire. It's the same as the Aureole of Liberal and the Great Tree of Crossbell. The Septarians, the 7 gifts bestowed upon humanity by Aidios. It's said they were all lost during the Great Collapse 1,200 years ago. Compared to the things Ouroboros has been trying to get their hands on all this time. Yeah, now for the main topic. Now, where to begin? Grandmother, we don't know anything beyond this. Don't leave out any details. Make sure you explain it fully. I second that request. I don't know the details either. Let's see. Roselia? Perhaps you should take turns. Very well. This will suffice. I'm sure you've noticed by now, but there's a front and back of this empire. The spirit veins are directly affected by turbulence of government and war, and that causes cryptids and powerful monsters from other planes to stir. That explains it then. As the Empire's territory spreads, so will they... The Plormilgrass and the Magic Knights. Where did they come from in the first place? Where to begin? Plormilgrass is a monograss from the higher planes. It once served as the eyes and ears of a Septarian of Mirage. Normally, it's blue, but after the incidents in Crossbell, it all vanished. That is, until the Crossbell became part of the Empire, at which point it began reappearing in a new scarlet shade. The implications are rather chilling. It changed color to match the Infernal Castle, perhaps. This is undoubtedly a connection. As for the Magic Knights, you may have heard before, but they are golems from the Dark Ages. They were created by mages of the Empire to fight against Divine Knights. During the Civil War, something caused them to stir once more, and they now appear in Crossbell via the Spirit Path. No way! That would also explain the increased incidence of cryptids recently. So about the Society. The Phantasmal Blaze Plan. They sought to use Crossbell's false phantasm to awaken the blaze in Erebonia. At least, that's what I've heard. Seriously? So that's their plan. Where did you hear that? Well, last night, I heard it from the Chancellor himself. He told me some other intriguing things too, but I feel he intentionally left out some of the more important details. I heard you talk to him, but... it seems Ouroboros worked in Crossbell 2 years ago to bring some kind of change to Erebonia. Just so you know, Crossbell's Mirage Septarian was an artificially created fake. It was stronger than the original, but the Society had no interest in it. Were I to hazard a guess, their goal is to acquire the 2 treasures that originally existed here. The Septarians of Fire and Earth, that once called the land of Ouroboros, of Erebos, home. The Septarians of Fire and Earth. So Liberal had the Septarian of Space, Crossbell the Septarian of Mirage, but Erebonia had 2 Septarians? Hold on a second. If the witches are descendants of the people who guarded the Septarian of Fire, yes, then the Black Workshop and the Gnomes are the same people. Descendants of those who guarded the Septarian of the Earth. There are counterparts. Much like the Royal Auslace family of Liberal, the Croy family in Crossbell. In addition, you may be aware that each Septarian has its own holy beast assigned to watch over it. Liberal had an ancient dragon, Crossbell had a divine wolf, and as its two Septarians, Erebonia has two holy beasts as well. However, after the Great Collapse, each of them vanished alongside the Septarian they were to oversee. That's the core of the tissue. The two Septarians, the two groups people had worshipped them, and the two holy beasts. The Septarians and the holy beast disappeared, and people changed their names. What happened in Erebonia 1200 years ago? Allow me to reveal to you the truth behind the land of Orgos. The story still relies on mediocre and speculation. Please keep that in mind. We're getting the full story
In the
now.
beginning, this land housed two of the Septarian. The Arc Rouge, Septarian of fire and wielder of fierce power. The Lost Zem, Septarian of earth and bearer of unyielding endurance. Each assumed the form of a colossal guardian and went about granting boons and performing miracles for its people. For a few centuries, the land of Erebonia prospered, but eventually, its people began to vie for power and control. The Septarians had always granted their people's wishes, but now, their peoples each wished for the other's destruction. And so, the two colossi began fighting. Their battle ravaged the earth and split the sky, devastating the entire region. The humans tried to stop them, but it was in vain. The Septarians' fight continued 1,000 days, scorching the land black. When the battle ended at long last, it was a tie. Exhausting their power in one final strike, the two Septarian were blown away, left as nothing but empty shells. Yet the tale did not end there.
The power expelled by each Septarian collided and became one, resulting in the creation of an entirely new entity. The Great One, the Septarian of Steel. It was an existence created from the union of fire and earth. It was beyond anything else in this realm. It was the ultimate source of power. Though things seemed fine at first, the survivors of the war soon realized the eternal conflict within it. They knew this conflict would cause it to grow ever more unstable, and that it was not something that could be handled by mankind.
With the Holy Beast's assistance, the kins of fire and earth joined together to see the Great One sealed away. However, each of their attempts ended in failure. Left with no other options, they resorted to their final plan. The Great One would remain whole in the higher plane, yet its physical incarnation in this world split into numerous shards.
This is confusing.
It was this final gambit that saw disaster averted.
Indeed, their combined efforts bore fruit. The Kin of Earth created 7 vessels, while the Kin of Fire split the Great One's power and infused each vessel with a part of it.
The Divine
7
Knights.
dolls in the form of knights, each bearing the Great One's power. The Divine Knights.
Wow. This is beyond fathomable. I was told about this in bits and pieces, but... So it all happened 1,200 years ago. That wasn't a fairy tale, right? At the very least, something similar happened. So what happened after that? And why did Valimar and the other Divine Knights start fighting? This is as far as the story that was passed down goes. So the Kin of Fire became the Hexing clan, and the Kin of the Earth became the Gnomes. They split the unstable ultimate power into 7, then both sides decided to watch over the reconstruction after the Great Collapse. Oh, and by the way, many people from each kinship have since abandoned their roles. They joined together, starting accepting the people from the surrounding area, and created a foundation of what became Erebonia. This is around the same time the Septian Church was spreading across Erebonia. 300 years passed, and the Arnor family established the city of Heimdall. That's when the disaster of the Dark Dragon occurred.
900 years ago, Heimdall was a small city of only about 50,000 people. However, it was one of the burgeoning centers of culture for the region. The Septian Church had finished construction on the Heimdall Cathedral, and there were plans to develop the city even further. But it was then the Dark Dragon appeared, blanketing Heimdall in miasma and transforming it into a city of the dead.
Eric! Is that who I think it is? Is he Eisen from Tales? That voice sounds very familiar.
Emperor Astorius chose to lead his people south and made St. Arc the new capital of Erebonia.
In helping Emperor Astorius deal with this crisis, the Hexen clan and gnomes each suffered substantial losses. The Hexen clan lost its elder, and the gnomes their holy beast. And so ended their alliance. The final time they spoke would be a century later. It was when Emperor Hector awakened the Vermilion Knight to reclaim Heimdall from the Dark Dragon. He did so at the urging of the chief of the gnomes and the new elder of the Hexen clan, myself.
Interesting.
However, the Emperor fell to the Dark Dragon's miasma, and the Vermilion Knight to its curse. The Emperor's son had the chief of the gnomes and myself seal the cursed knight deep below the Imperial Palace. That would be the last act our two clans performed together. I do not know why, but the gnomes cut off contact with our clan and hid themselves away. In the 800 years that followed, whenever war struck Erebonia, a divine knight would enter the stage, demonstrate its might, then vanish. I was certain the gnomes were involved, yet all we could do was guide awakeners on the proper course. This unending pattern reached its most fevered peak 250 years ago during the War of the Lions. The false Emperor Orthros unearthed the cursed Vermilion Knight, and a mercenary under Prince Lucius' employ awakened the Palatinate Knight. Prince Dreichels found the Ashen Knight, and Leanne the Argent Knight. The four awakened at once, made for a grand war indeed.
Interesting. So that's how things connect. There's so many parts of the story I want to question, but... So Emma's grandma was around during the War of the Lions? A good witch. I've read about them in the fairy tales. As the prince's guide, I accompanied the Dreichels camp. I remember those days. I used to be quite the beauty. I mean, as to say, the art depictions of me are not inaccurate. Ahem. As stated earlier, the elder of the witches isn't a normal human. So, you've been watching over the clan after becoming an immortal being. Yes. However, I only came into existence 800 years ago. My predecessor perished soon afterward, and I don't have many memories from before that point. So naturally, there are other things I still do not know. But there are things you know about. Such as when you said Madame Leanne was an awakener of the Argent Knight, and whether or not she's Ouroboros' Steel Maiden. That's true. You could confirm so many things. It is her. Of that much I am certain. She was the daughter of a count who met the Wandering Prince, and later challenged the Apocalypse, only to lose her life. However, before that happened, it was I who guided Leanne to become the Argent Awakener. But Leanne knew her powers were too great, so she kept them hidden away. It was only during her battle with the Apocalypse that she unleashed her full might. In the end, however, she was fatally injured and passed away after the war. Then, half a year later, I witnessed her revival, along with your ancestor, our saint, second in command of the Eisenritter. Ah. So that's why. Were you the one who revived them, grandmother? Yes. That's what I'd like to know too. After Leanne passed, I thought it strange how her body did not rot. So I took her body back to the village, and a half year later she simply woke up. I assumed she had become immortal, though I cannot say how or when. Leanne realized what was happening to her, so she left Erebonia to walk the earth without ever telling her love Drycles. She left Legram to Arsaid, her right-armed man. I occasionally met with her whenever she had come around, but the last time was 20 years ago. That's when she met Ouroboros' Grand Master, who brought her into the fold. Ah, thank you for sharing this. There are some things that can't be overlooked. Yeah, we've seen too many incredible things over the last few months. So the boss and Crow were both, as I said earlier, we have no idea what specifically happened. I think the key is the Divine Knight. The Jaeger King is not an Awakener when he was alive. In other hands, Drykel was an Awakener, but he did not become immortal. He remained dead. That's right. Instructor Reen isn't immortal, is he? Right. He's been growing since graduating. Yes. I may have some weird powers, but I definitely aged. Is there a common reason? I believe there's only two people who know the truth. The current Chancellor Gileath Osborne and the Chief of the Gnomes, Black Aldrich. So that's the leader of the Black Workshop. Yes, though I do not believe he is an immortal like me. The leader of the Gnomes is somehow passed down from one to the next, in order for them to achieve their goal of bringing their Great Twilight. The Great Twilight? It's the first I've heard of it, but... Is that the fairy tale of the end that Vita was talking about? Yes, 800 years ago, as they were going the separate ways, that's when the Chief of the Gnomes told Prince and me. If it was he who was foretelling a future where everything ends. Wait, that's too... It's much too similar in the direction the Empire is heading. Let me add to this. The reason Barkhorn and I were in Erebonia was because we discovered an anomaly. The spirit veins were being distorted all over the continent, and the source seemed to emanate from the Empire. It was like a ripple effect. The incident in Liberal and Crossbell, as well as the Civil War in Erebonia, only served to further increase the distortions. They continued to gather larger after Crossbell and Northumbria were folded into the Empire. The larger again when the Cryptids and Magic Knights in Erebonia appeared in Crossbell. And on the other hand, Palermo grass, which is native to Crossbell, started blooming in the Empire. If the Great Twilight really is about to happen, then all of this seems to be the omen of things to come. Who is this Albrecht person? He uses a masked man as his agent, and hired a Jaeger King who is supposed to be dead. Are there other gnomes out there? Well, your dear rabbit friends may technically count, but besides the masked men, their leader seems to have at least one other acting agent. I cannot say who this person may be, but it would seem they are a talented craftsman at any rate. Oh, and before you jump to conclusions, I'm not speaking of that little brat Schmidt. It would seem the person I speak of possesses a different kind of genius than he does. A talented craftsman? That sounds... I'm putting some unpleasant ideas in my head. In any event, Albrecht and his Chancellor are probably connected, and it's unlikely to be through the Intelligence Division or his children. With the incidents of last night, things may have already been put in motion. Oh? Why do you say that? Last night, we finally decoded the Black Records that you found the other day. On the Black Records are a collection of particular type of artifacts sometimes found in Erebonia. I was actually exchanging information about them with Reen. Really? When did that happen? Right before all you graduated. He revealed his true identity to me. He told me not to tell anyone. I hope you don't hold it against me. Father Thomas. Sheesh. You probably took advantage of Reen's sense of responsibility, didn't you? Well, I can't deny it. In any event, this is what the updated Black Record said.
When the sacrifice is made and the ancient blood flows, the path to the Grawl of Erebos shall open. When the tainted holy beast is pierced by the blade of World's End, and its blood fills the Grawl, the great twilight shall fall upon the land.
What? That... Timing is too perfect. It's as if the prophecies were written about a current situation. If this ancient blood is referring to the Emperor, and then the sacrifice referring to Ash, what about the Grawl and the Blade? The Grawl is probably related to the Septarian Church, and the tainted holy beasts. Father Thomas, could that be? Yes, as we stated earlier, guys. There is a sacred place beneath this cathedral, the Primal Ground, a facility that is designated to play a major role after the Great Collapse. 900 years ago, when Heimdall was shrouded in darkness, it retreated beneath here and disappeared. Disappeared? I heard such a facility in Lilbor. Yes, there is one beneath the Great Grand Self Cathedral in Liberal too. However, when Heimdall was retaken, the space between the cathedral was buried by rock. But what if it didn't disappear and simply transferred somewhere else instead? So it still exists. The holy beast mentioned in prophecy is likely the holy beast of Earth. As I said before, it's disappeared after a disaster 900 years ago. It's only speculation, but I believe the dark dragon you faced the other day was merely a servant of the true holy beast. Wait a minute, are you saying that the dark dragon wasn't the cause of everything? Though it was intended as a powerful cryptid, it was not something the witches and the gnomes could take of together. If the holy beast gave birth to the dark dragon and is still alive somewhere, where else could it be but the Primal Ground? All the conditions set forth in prophecy are lining up. This has to be a joke. Regarding this Blade of World's End that defeats the holy beast, in other organizations, it is called the Originator Zero. I'm speculating that it's a special weapon created by the Black Workshop. What in the world? At the very least, it probably isn't anything like the boss uses. You think it's made of Zamarian ore like the weapons used by Divine Knights? That would seem most likely.
Muse?
Is something the matter?
Oh?
You realize something?
Right now, we need any straw we can grasp at.
Anything at all could help, no matter how small.
Yes, you're right. That term. Originator Zero. Could that be OZ, perhaps?
That's what the Black Workshop called Millium and Altina.
Uh-oh.
They're model numbers.
OZ.
Oh, what are you talking about?
So you finally made it.
Vita!
That voice.
Vita! Ah, so the prodigal granddaughter returns.
Misty, Vita.
I heard you had been acting on your own. Nice to see you again, Grandmother. Emma, Celine, and Class 7, too. And thank you for mediating, Mr. Lysander.
Oh, don't even mention it. It always breaks my heart to see a family torn apart so.
Vita! Why? You really don't plan on ever coming back, do you?
That's correct. As I said before, my allegiance will forever lie with the Grandmaster. I can't return to you and Grandmother. I can never go back to the way I used to be, just like the Steel Maiden.
Seriously, who even is this Grandmaster person?
I have no clue. But it is clear she is quite taken with them. So do tell, Vita. If you have not decided to return to us, why show yourself now? Has Ouroboros finally decided upon its course of action?
Yes. After our experiments with the 3 ions, the 6 other Anguis came to a unanimous decision. They decided to ignore my warning. They will work with the Chancellor and the Gnomes to bring about the Great Twilight, completing the Phantasmal Blaze plan.
So that's how it is. The reason Ouroboros was so quiet the past month wasn't because they left Erebonia.
It was to carry out their plan and determine whether they should work alongside enemies and traitors.
How can that be? If that were the case, it means...
They're all our enemies?
Yep.
Is this?
It's not the cathedral's bell.
Huh? I think I recognize it from Crossbell.
You do?
Yeah, I'm sure of it. I remember hearing it right before the incidents in Crossbell, when we were still independent. Oh! The one from the museum!
The bell from Stargazer's tower?
But the sound's coming from a different direction than the museum.
The Phantasmal Blaze Plan. What a fitting name. I wonder how much of this she foresaw.
That is quite enough mumbling to yourself. If you know what is going on, show us!
It'll be a bit tough without Grianos. I'll need your help, Grandmother. Emma, Celine, you too.
Yes! Ugh, I'm not your slave.
Oh, the Royal Villa. That's why I couldn't go there. Oh God, he's back. Oh my God, they saved the top half?
Now then, let's say we celebrate the continuation of the Phantasmal Blaze Plan by ringing in the Great Twilight. I, Enforcer Number 0, the Fool, shall play the opening note. Does that thing have leg eyes? Egg.
Check that out!
Huh. Sure is something.
Well, how about that?
So,
The beginning of the end, is it?
Deja vu.
The Grawl of Erebos. Just as the Black Records foretold.
The crypt where the great power will be reborn.
Rean. Eustace.
Couldn't have guessed this is how my day would turn out when I woke up this morning.
Let us begin. It is time. Chief of the Gnomes and head of the workshop, show me the way, Black Alberic.
As you wish, my lord.
I guess they don't want me coming in.
Rufus. Millium.
Was that... Allie?
Yes. But why?
Boss, Zeno, and Leo.
Azure Siegfried.
And that guy in the lab coat. Isn't that...
The Blazing Demon and the Fool were there as well.
So that's the maiden.
Why? We just spoke this morning and... What's going on?!
Lisa.
That man's name was Lumen or something like that, right? His hair looked different.
Franz Lumen, the first disciple of G. Schmidt, and the deceased husband of the Reinford Group's chairman.
Oh!
Also known as Franz Reinford.
Ah, so he has been lurking in the shadows these past 20 years.
Yes. Perhaps for the sake of working with the Chancellor to engineer this very moment.
Elisa.
Snap out of it! Now's not the time! As a bracer, I can't just sit here and let them pull off whatever that Twilight crap is they're planning. How about all of you?
She's right. We can't stop here.
We gathered together to do whatever we could to help.
Can I use that
Our
as
goal
grandmother?
remains unchanged.
Yep, true.
Elisa, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, Vita, what will you do now?
Well, I'd like to charge in there alongside the rest of you, mostly out of spite. Unfortunately, I suspect things won't be quite that easy.
What do you...
Something's...
There's a turbulent swirl in the mana.
Was that? I believe so.
Sir Lysander, Sir Gaius, cryptids and magic knights have appeared all over the city.
Uh-oh. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. You guys know what I'm about to do. I have to. I have stuff to do. Stretch. Oh. Okay. So, wow. um Dang. We've got quite an ending ahead of us. We will start this next week. I won't be here tomorrow. I will be back hopefully Saturday evening, depending. And then we'll stream tomorrow on Saturday night. We'll do I'll probably do Hi-Fi Rush instead of Dark Souls just to finish that up. And then Sunday will be 14 raid. And then we'll come back and we'll complete this. Eric, do you think I can finish this next week? If you're still there. 2 days probably. Okay. So Monday will be a full session. We'll push to finish it next week, depending on how late it runs. Thursday night might be a late night for Cold Steel. We're not gonna do another 12 plus hour stream though for the finale. That's not gonna happen. I started uploading the episodes to YouTube, so they're not deleted, so they're there for you guys. I started uploading God of War. I really need to get back and finish that up. I need to add a lot more stuff for you guys on the stream. I'm sorry it's taking so long, getting sidetracked by other things. But other than that, we are going to stop here for the night. I am not proceeding. I am just going to Alt F4 out, so you guys won't miss anything. We'll pick it up right where we left off, and we'll continue on. So y'all have a wonderful rest of the night. Stick around after the credits, and we'll raid out. And then I'll see you guys Saturday. Till then, have a nice night. See you next time. Bye-bye. Oh no.